I'm Fei Kwan and you're tuning in to AWANI Review. I am currently on board the Greenpeace Rainbow Warrior, one of the 3 ships by Greenpeace that has been sailing the world's oceans for the past 50 years. Today I speak to Ting Shuen, the Senior Program Manager of Greenpeace Southeast Asia, as well as Barbal Badia, the Captain of the Rainbow Warrior. We discuss the fight for climate justice and the crew behind this ship. With me is Ting Shuen, the Senior Program Manager of Greenpeace Southeast Asia in Malaysia office. Thank you, Shuen, for joining me today. Now, the current Rainbow Warrior has been patrolling the world's oceans since 2011, and it also last visited Malaysia in 2018. Tell me, how has the ship and Greenpeace Southeast Asia overall evolved in the last 5 years and since the ship first last docked in Port Klang?
Okay, Greenpeace Malaysia started our campaign or started to set up our campaign teams in 2017. So Rainbow Warrior was in Malaysia in 2018. So basically we want to introduce Greenpeace and Rainbow Warrior to Malaysian so that we can engage more people in our campaigns. And at that time the campaign is about clean air. And as you know that in 2019 we faced a problem with the transboundary haze, the forest fire in Indonesia. So we started the campaign campaign by asking the government to formulate a transboundary haze act. And since then, we also are monitoring the plastic waste threat. Started 2018, China banned their plastic waste import, and a lot of plastic waste from the developed countries actually come to Malaysia and other Southeast Asia countries. So we closely monitoring the waste threat together with our colleagues in other countries at that time. So from 1 campaigner, now we are growing into 6 campaigners this year. We hope that we can do more in terms of systematic change, asking the government to formulate new laws and asking the community to care more about the environment. And we hope to engage more people to come aboard to talk about it or to start the discourse about environment, about plastic pollutions, about clean air, about the green politics, things like this. Yeah.
As you said, Greenpeace Malaysia is fairly new, having only started up in 2017, but it is pushing for very big changes. And when we talk about plastic pollution in Malaysia, I think Malaysia was one of the largest recipients, if not the largest recipients, of the global plastic waste in 2018. So could you tell us a bit more about the ongoing plastic pollution in Malaysia?
Okay, if you remember, after China banned their plastic waste trade, and a lot of plastic waste came to Malaysia and other countries. So our colleagues went to the field and found out that a lot of plastic being ended up in the community, like nearby the Port Klang actually, and they were being thrown, or they were being just dumped everywhere they can find. And at that time the government shipped back a lot of plastic waste to their original countries.
Yes.
But actually it is still going on every day. And because there are many issues, there are many reasons behind this, and some were imported legally or illegally. So they ended up in some of our private lands. And it is very sad for us because our landowners are allowing this happen because they want to make money out of the rental. So at the same time, we are lacking of enforcement and political will to solve the issues. We could, we need to do more in terms of stopping this sort of plastic waste threat, or that could bring damages or harm our land and also water source, things like that. Because these are not regulated. For example, if they have a license to import plastic materials, but in fact they imported plastic waste or other kind of waste, So nobody is going to regulate this sort of waste. Where are they going to end up? And some, they end up in the recycling plants that claim they are recycling, but they are not recycling. They are burning the trash. They are burning the waste, the waste or plastic waste or e-waste in their factories. And also, this will cause air pollution at the same time. And also, you will not know where are they going to throw next. So currently, we are working with other coalitions on monitoring all this. There are also affected communities in this particular area, and we hope that in future there will be more attention to this issue.
Right.
Yeah.
Very important to address it now, right?
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
a very urgent matter.
Yeah.
Just for our audience as well, could you also explain how plastic pollution eventually leads to air pollution?
When you say plastic pollution, which means plastic are not being disposed of properly, so it is everywhere, or it is not being managed properly. So the problem with our plastic nowadays is recycling is not working. Recycling has become a myth, and we have published 2 reports in our organization. For those who are interested, you can go and read it. Why recycling is a myth for us? It's a false solution, because in the first place, there is no collection system in our waste management in Malaysia. Actually, we have a law since 2015 saying that domestic or industrial, they have to segregate their waste at the source. It's in the law, but it's not happening, as you can see.
It's not being enforced.
Yeah, it's not being enforced. It's not being implemented. At least I or my friends are not seeing it. Yeah, what we see is people are still throwing everything in one bin. And what happened at the landfill, what happened at the illegal dump site. So all these that you can imagine. And a lot of waste are plastic waste that are not they are not being sorted properly, or a lot of dirty plastic cannot be recycled as well. And it takes a long process to educate people that you need to wash your plastic before you put it in the recycling bin. So not many people is doing it now. And there are 7 types of plastic. If you can see all your plastic products, right? Yeah, there is a number on it, 1 to 7. And in Malaysia, most of the recyclers that I know, they only recycle plastic number 1, plastic number 2, and plastic number 5. And don't forget, it's only in big cities like KL, Johor Bahru, and a lot of places that don't have this sort of facilities. So these are really a headache for environment and in terms of waste management. Yeah, and even though some cities like KL, they already have the laws to restrict single-use plastic, not giving out straws or not giving out plastic bag, things like that. But it's not everywhere, you can see. Even in Kuala Lumpur itself, when you order a drink, they still come with straws. It's just like we cannot live without straw. It's not a rice, it's not our food, but why we cannot live without straws? This is our questions. And there's nothing or nobody is doing anything on it. Yeah.
And on that note, what is on the agenda for Greenpeace this round with the Rainbow Warrior now in Port Klang?
This round, our message of the Rainbow Warrior we say is climate justice. Climate justice. And it is also one of the things that we would like to highlight during our campaign, that we need a climate change act. As we know that since 2018, when the Pakatan Harapan government took over the federal government, they were actually planning to have a climate change act. And after that, the government has been changed several times. And then recently, we were told that they are going to postpone it to 2025. In the past 2 years, you can see the flood, from the flood incident, you can see that abnormal rainfall patterns has affected everyone in Malaysia. You can see, normally we will be expecting flood in December. And who knows, but nobody expects another flood in February, especially during Chinese New Year. It's raining heavily. Last 2 months, as you can see, and most of the elderly, they will say, it has never been raining in this way during Chinese New Year. Normally, people will be expecting sunny Chinese New Year. So this is something that everybody can feel. And also in March, normally March will be dry season, but it has been raining recently, as you can see. And Johor, last month, they have evacuated more than 40,000 people between February to March, and this is something so abnormal.
Right.
So some of them already dealt with flood last December, and they never expect flood will come back again 2 months later. So this is something that it has affected many people, but then our measure, I would say that government is trying to do something, but they are not fast enough. And they talk about adaptation plan, but they didn't talk about mitigation plan. What we want is mitigation, and both mitigation and adaptation must come together.
Right, I'll get on the Climate Change Act in a little bit, but you're right when you say that Malaysia is no stranger to climate change. We have seen it in our landslides, torrential rain leading to frequent flooding. And on that note as well, do you think the country is doing enough in terms of incorporating environmental and climate change considerations into its policies?
Currently, we can see some of the government departments are doing a little bit here, a little bit there to reduce carbon emission, or maybe they are trying to address certain part of the climate change. For example, some are pushing EV, some is pushing for renewable energy, some is pushing for this and that and that. But all this, it doesn't come. All this, they are not working with the regulatory framework. So it's scattered everywhere. That's why we need a Climate Change Act to put it on paper, saying that what are we trying to do actually? What is our vision altogether? If there is no vision, if there is no objective of the country in general, and everybody is just doing their own, and then we don't know what we will achieve in the end.
Yep.
Like when you see Sabah, they are selling forest credit to Singapore, and all these are not being done in a particular, regulatory regulation.
It's not streamlined.
Yeah. So every state can do their things as they like. So for us, it's not right, and it shouldn't happen. Yeah, we should have. Although there are some small things happening, but we should be monitored, and things should be implemented following directions. Yeah.
But as you mentioned, the Climate Change Act, it has been revealed that it may be delayed 2 to 3 years from now and only tabled in 2025.
Yeah.
Do you think it'll be too late if we have it tabled?
Yeah, of course, for us. for us, it should be done as soon as possible. 2 years is maybe too long. We actually demand, during the last general election, we demand that the Climate Change Act should be tabled this year in 2023. And we hope that whoever is doing it, and no matter which minister is doing it, or the task force, is there any task force committee doing it, we hope that they can expect it, so that the people, the communities, or especially the vulnerable groups who are affected by all these climate change related incidents can be protected, or justice can be served. Climate justice can be served, because if there is no action against climate justice, this is already an injustice. What we want is the government should pay attention, or should care more about people who are facing these sort of things. And it comes together with the air pollution and waste management, and a lot of things need to be done.
Yep.
We shouldn't, the department shouldn't work in silo.
And beyond the Climate Change Act, where and how can we do better then? Is there any low-hanging fruit for the government perhaps?
What Greenpeace demands in terms of policy change is, currently we have three demands. One is we need a Transboundary Haze Act or a Clean Air Act. So currently our air pollution standards is still behind what WHO required. So we hope that the government can look into it. And also, as I mentioned, Climate Change Act, we need a new Climate Change Act, so that we can put everyone who is working on carbon reduction or carbon credit or anything about climate change, we can put all these department and agencies together under one framework. And the third one, I think the low-hanging fruit is to revise the Environmental Quality Act. It cannot solve a lot of climate and environmental issues caused by the modernization and industrializations.
Right.
So although it has been revised last year, it was a phase 1 revision, and this year there will be second. I think according to what we understand from the news, it will be revised again this year. But we hope that it will take circular economy of the scheduled waste into consideration, particularly. For example, if there is a livestock waste, farmers who like to turn their waste into biogas, there is no law regulating it, and technology are there, but then people do not know how to deal with it. Even the officers also do not know whether they should approve or not.
Yep.
So these are the things that we hope the we hope that the Environmental Quality Act can address the new issues and the new technologies.
Thank you very much, Shuen, for joining me on the show. It's been a pleasure. Welcome back to AWANI Review. I'm joining me is Captain Jose, better known as Captain Pep. Thank you so much for being on the show. Now, Captain, Greenpeace has been sailing the world's oceans to fight for environmental justice for the past 5 decades. What would you say is the significance of the Rainbow Warrior's visit in Malaysia this time round?
The Rainbow Warrior is the iconic ship of Greenpeace, so it's important for Malaysian office the representation that Rainbow Warrior does for the office here.
Can you tell us a little bit about what the ship symbolizes and how it contributes towards more awareness when it comes to climate justice?
Well, the ship is like any other ship of Greenpeace because they are the same size, and we do same operations. But this one, because of the name and because of the history that the first one was sunk by the French, it has kind of a myth. It's a kind of symbolic ship. But in a practical way, it's doing the same than the other ships. There is no difference. The only difference, practical difference, is that it's a sailing ship and is able to cross the oceans only by sails.
You did mention that this ship, the Rainbow Warrior specifically, has a very extensive history, right? In fact, this ship is the 3rd version of the Rainbow Warrior. Could you tell us a little bit more about the ship's history or any other interesting stories of the ship in the past?
That's part of the myth of the name, because the other Rainbow Warriors, they were different ships. They are not the ship, but we are called the same. There was the Rainbow Warrior 1 that was sunk, then the Rainbow Warrior 2 that was a sailing boat also, and now the Rainbow Warrior 3 that is a sailing boat. They are different, but they share the name.
Share the same
for
name.
a symbolic purpose.
And continuing the fight for climate justice
Yes.
under the name of Rainbow Warrior.
That for sure. But the other ship, Arctic Sunrise and the Witness, also they do the same. I mean, they are not different in the operations and objective of the organization. They are not different from this one.
This may be a bit of a more personal question, but tell us how long have you been with Greenpeace, and what's a day in a life like of a captain of the Rainbow Warrior?
I've been around 20 years, and the life of captain is like any other captain in another ship. We have the routines on board, and your captain is responsible of the safety of the ship and persons. So it's quite it's quite a work to do the logistics of the ship. So it's a normal captain of a ship.
And are there any day offs, or is it a 24/7, 365 kind of job?
24/7, yeah. So when you embark, you hardly can have a day off. Sometimes there are more relaxed days and then you can go off, but you can never be totally off, never.
And you've been doing this continuously for 20 years.
Yes, also working in other ships, different from Greenpeace, but yeah, with resting. Obviously, if you are 3 months on board, you have 3 months on vacations. Otherwise, it will be impossible to do this job. You need same time of embark in vacations on land.
You need your breaks as well, right? So that you can do your job to the fullest once you are on the ship. And who makes up the crew on the Rainbow Warrior? I understand there are 17 crew members on board at all times, including you.
Yeah, 17 crew members. Everybody has a task. For example, there are engineers, there are the cook, there are the bosun, or board mechanic, the officers, radio operator. Everybody has a different task, and a clear and different task.
Is there a mix of activists and researchers on board as well?
Yeah, some of them, they come from activists. All of them, they have a professional job. But some, they come from activist side, and others, they come from from professional ships side. Okay.
I see. And they are coming from different countries as well?
Oh yeah, this is one of the characteristics of these ships is that you have 17 crews and sometimes it's 17 different countries. It's not the case now, but I think it's around 15, 16. It's quite a lot.
So a very diverse crew.
Yes, very, very, very diverse. This is you don't find in other ships. In other ships, the nationalities of the crew is more, or is only one country or 2 or 3 countries, but not so many like here.
And
Yeah,
that
it's
just
super diverse. Yeah,
That just proves how international and worldwide Greenpeace is,
it is.
right?
Yeah.
And can you tell us any interesting observations or stories throughout your journey as you docked in Port Klang or coming towards Port Klang?
It was quite smooth. I don't see no big problems.
Okay.
Big with authorities, and it's always complicated, but this is on the paperwork. But once we are here, it's quite smooth and quite easy. It went quite simple.
And what's
So
your
no big adventures. If you are asking for big adventures, no big adventure.
no big adventures?
No.
But what we have to say about the water quality and all here in Port Klang?
The water quality is not amazing. you can see and the current is quite strong.
Yep.
So when it's can be 2 knots or 3 knots, and you can see that a lot of water coming and it's super dirty or going out. It's super dirty and full of plastics, and quality of water is not good. We wanted to make water here, but it's not possible because it's so dirty that it will be not good for crew consumption.
It's not safe for consumption.
No, it's not safe to use this water.
And just out of curiosity, how does the water quality here compare to other Asian countries, or perhaps just countries around the Straits of Malacca?
To be honest, it's difficult to say because you need a science to prove these kind of things. But in Asian, what my experience is in Asian cities, the water is very polluted. I remember, for example, in Manila, it's even worse, much worse than here. Because at least here, there are not too many things floating, but in Manila and other places, there are so many things, plastics and things floating. But in the cities, generally in Asia, the cities are very crowded, so around the cities, there is a lot of pollution.
Thank you very much, Captain Pep, for joining us today on the show. It's been a pleasure.
Okay, very good.